Welcome friends to another r/malicious compliance video. As always, if you enjoy this video, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. Our first story of the day is by River of Tears. The badge policy must be followed. I worked for a small account at a global company. Most of the employees at the site were hourly, with around 10 non-managerial salaried people working for this account, with me being one of the few who worked on site. I'm the head technical employee. On this day, I'd forgotten my badge at home. The process to receive a temporary badge was to either have your manager or one of the other managers come to the front lobby to sign you in. No big deal. I got the luck of having one of the stupid managers come to sign me in. She was also the same manager who signed me in earlier that month. They said, "You are aware of the policy for habitually forgetting your ID badge?" I say, "Sorry, no, I've not been informed of any policy regarding this." They say, "All the managers sent the policy out to everyone via email. You were to sign that you read and understood the policy." I said, "My manager works off-site, as do most of us who report to her. She probably didn't see the need to send it to the few of us who do work on-site." They say, "Are you saying you never received the policy email?" I say, "Positive. You can verify this with her. I'm certain I've not received any emails on any such policy." They said, "Since this is your second offense this month, I'm supposed to send you home and not allow you to work today." I say, "Really? Well, I could see how that would be a deterrent for the employees." They say, "This has become a habit for you." I say, "In the past 15 years that I've worked on this account, I've forgotten my badge 3 times. Once around 7 years ago, and the other time this same month." They say that's a trend. I say, "If you would rather send me home and not have me work for today, that's in your right." They say that's what you agreed to in the policy. I say, "Again, I've never received any such policy, and I believe everyone has to sign a receipt saying they've read the policy and will follow it. If you check with my manager or any on-site manager who might be in control of such a thing for my area, I've not signed such a document. But if that's the policy, I will head home then." I notified my manager, they were on vacation, and team via email that I was sent home by said manager that day for failing to have a badge for the second time this month. And by the directive, I would not be logging into work, answering emails, attending any meetings, nor addressing any non-production issue. Please reschedule any meetings with me. You know, for hourly folk, that's a huge deal. A day's pay is a harsh punishment, but for us salaried folk, I get paid if I work or not. A nice, relaxing day. Fun fact, never had to deal with that again. Later that quarter, HR struck down this local policy as it was against corporate policy. Be honest, if you were in this situation and you knew you hadn't signed that contract, and you probably could have pushed hard enough to still work that day, but you also knew that you could just take the day off and go home and listen to the manager and still get paid for that day, which of those two would you do? Let me know in the comments down below. This next story is by Maschinenfliege. You want that invoice paid? So for starters, I live in a small village where pretty much everyone knows who's who. I like it a lot. It gives me a sense of security that I feel is underrated in today's society. Friends and neighbors help each other with moving, remodeling, etc. My mother-in-law wanted to have her driveway redone. Being the good son that I am, I ordered supplies and got some friends and family members to come and help out on a Saturday, after which there would be some nice cold beers. This is before Corona, obviously. One of my friends, let's call him John, is more of an outlier and doesn't get around too much. He's a bit timid, but otherwise a very nice guy. I thought it would be a nice idea to include John in the working party, so he would get to know some more folks from the village. With the work done and the driveway finished, we thanked everyone that helped for the much appreciated effort. Not too soon afterwards, I receive a letter. It was an invoice sent by John for the hours he worked, multiplied by a not too shabby hourly rate. To say I was dumbfounded would be an understatement. It's well known that this kind of work is for free. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. Or so I thought. I come by John's a few days later to ask him what the invoice is all about. He says it's no big deal and that he's done it before. He can't be expected to give up his Saturday to work on somebody else's driveway. He says he thinks that it's fair and that he wants to be open about it. I soon understand that John isn't going to change his mind, and I don't want to get into an argument with him. I pay John myself because I'm rather embarrassed to tell my mother-in-law. A few weeks later, we're at a get-together where John happens to be too. A friend who had also helped says he's thinking of redoing his driveway as well and asks what the costs were. My mother-in-law sums up the different supplies and their costs, as well as the beers, of course. John's within hearing distance and I see him glance over. Now's my time. I raise my voice a little and I say, "Aren't you forgetting the labor costs?" She looks at me surprised and I add, "Yeah, John's invoice of X amount, that racks up the bill." An uncomfortable silence descends upon the party as people frown and look at me and John, whose stature shrivels under the weight of those looks. Suffice to say, John had some explaining to do, but he didn't look so sure anymore. He wanted to be open about it, right? Under the circumstances, I must say the invoice was money well spent, although I lost a friend that day. Imagine being asked to come help with something on a Saturday, very clearly not being told that it's for any kind of fee not getting paid, and then having the gall and the confidence to send an invoice to somebody. It's like, how conceited can you possibly be? This next story is by The Bold Move. If you feel sick, go see a doctor. Okay, boss. Ka-ching. About 10 months ago, I was going through a very hard time in my life. My job, my marriage, my family, everything was failing, including me, who had relapsed into alcoholism. Then the pandemic came on top. I desperately needed a break, or at least some slack. Since I was regarded as an essential employee, IT help desk admin grunt, my employer blocked all of my inquiries for some home office to catch a breath, get some distance between me and a certain micromanaging, unofficial team lead, and maybe even find enough time or power to tackle some of my personal problems. Home office would have meant saving 3 hours drive daily. Little background information. This was during a time where laws and policies changed almost weekly. Can't say if at the moment home office was even mandatory if possible, but at least the whole world already or still agreed everyone should stay home if possible. Except my employer, who told me there's no home office. No, not even some hours after lunch break, and to go see a doctor if I didn't feel well enough to work. So I did, and the doc shook his head about my employer and gave me a sick note, and another one, until today. And I made good use of this time. As of today, I am 241 days sober. My divorce is lined up, and my ex has finally recently moved out. Never in this time did my employer reach out to me, not even once. Well, someone from work I didn't really have anything to do with contacted me on a private channel, so I guess that was them eavesdropping. Until some weeks ago, where they sent me my dismissal. This I had been waiting for, since they're legally not allowed to do that, in my case at least. Thankfully, I've always been a fan of unions. Not a fanboy, but they do have their advantages one shouldn't miss out on, like free legal counsel. Now after some OP, I've come to bargain, I've agreed to leave this toxic workplace in exchange for coin. Those coins will help me replace the stuff my ex-wife took with her. I ain't even mad. Don't hate the player, hate the game. I mean, bottom line, it's obviously ridiculous that at the height of the pandemic, when everybody should have been staying home, they say no, come in, if you feel sick, go to the doctor. It's like, are you trying to kill people? This next story is by Zevdaya. Drove slower, got a bigger tip. I worked for a shared ride service and picked up a group of people at a downtown hotel. They were talking among themselves and were concerned they wouldn't make it to the airport on time. Apparently they had all arrived separately, and being a shared ride service, took a while to get to their hotel as others were being dropped off on the way there. I picked them all up together, so we were going straight to the airport and they were going to get there with plenty time to spare. I hadn't had a chance to tell them this when one of them asked, "Driver, how fast can you get us to the airport?" I replied, "Well, the speed limit's 55 miles an hour. Not that I ever drove that slowly, but I hoped I knew where this was going." After some murmuring with the rest of the passengers, he replied, "We'll give you $20 to drive 65. I asked, "Is that on top of my regular tip?" After a few more seconds of murmuring, he replied, "Sure." And that's how I made an extra $20 for driving 65 instead of my usual 70 plus. And they still got to the airport with plenty of extra time. I'm just imagining OP up front looking at the speedometer like, "We'll give you $20 to go 65. Glance at the speedometer. It reads 70. OP starts slowly pressing on the brakes. Is that on top of my regular tip? Our next story is by Royal Ferris. That's what the tag says. I was at my favorite hardware store rifling through the bargain bins, as I have a habit of doing whenever I have the chance. In between other items, there was a decent TU DAB Plus car radio with a price tag of €29 950. Clearly a case of a misplaced decimal separator, but I brought it to the cashier anyway and asked, "Is there something wrong with this price, or will I get it for the price printed?" The cashier looks at the price, thinks for a second, and smiles beatifically. The box is very shabby, so the managers clearly knew what they were doing. That will be €29.95, sir. And that's how I got the impression that very few freaks were given, and I got a great new car stereo for my wife's car. So something that should have been almost €300 you got for an incredible discount because somebody accidentally misplaced the decimal? Well, that's a score. Our next story is by The World of Ben. You want a better refund on your terms? Okay. I sell software for a big company. Something I sold broke, kept breaking, kept failing. Customer got very mad. I offered a 100% refund of what they paid, and they could keep it licensed, so when it got fixed, they would have it free of charge. To be fair, it was a pretty big fail on our part. "No," said the customer. "I want 10% of my annual support as a credit." You can see this coming, can't you? My refund offer was 20,000 British pounds. His annual support was 180,000 pounds. I'll let you do the maths. I told him I would process it immediately, did so, and made sure the credit note itemized the calculation. I didn't hear back. Oh, isn't it great when people just don't know math and foolishly choose the wrong numbers? Makes me think of that old story where A&W tried a third of a pound burger to compete with the McDonald's quarter pounder, and people didn't buy it because they thought a third of a pound burger was less than a quarter pounder because 1.3 seems smaller than 1.4. How does math work? And our final story of the day is by Evu2. Just pay, okay? This happened today, first post, not a native speaker, on mobile, etc. So I went to get a new belt to hold up my trousers. After picking one, I went to the self-scan desk and scanned the barcode. It scanned as underwear and way cheaper than the belt. I was also selected to be checked by an employee to see if I didn't steal anything. Here's the conversation. I say, "It seems the belt didn't scan correctly." The employee says, "No, I just have to check you." "It's okay, you can pay now." I say, "But it's not the right product." They say, "Just pay, okay?" Then they went back to helping the queue. Okay, I paid. Underwear was on a 50% discount. I paid €3 for a €20 leather belt. I mean, I don't know what that employee was thinking. Maybe they just don't get paid enough to really truly care. Maybe as far as the self-scanning area goes, if it scans and it says it's a certain item, good enough for me. If the employee came over, looked at everything, and you earnestly said, "This isn't the right product, I should be charged more," and they go, "Nah, it's fine, go ahead." It's like, what are you gonna do, not go ahead? Fine, deal. That's just one cheap belt for me, thank you. But with that being said, that's a wrap on another bunch of stories here today. As always, if you guys have any favorite videos of this bunch, let me know which one in the comments down below and why. And if you enjoyed the stories in general, if you could subscribe to this channel, it'd mean a lot to me. I make these videos daily, and it's by far and away the best way to support my channel. So no matter what you did, whether it was subscribing or liking, leaving a comment, I just appreciate the heck out of you guys. And as always, I'll be back tomorrow with even more stories right here on the Storytime channel.